So last time on the travel, we had been confronted with men with guns again. We'd got a bunch of cheap pesos or dollar azul, and that resulted in a lot of cheap vino from the local supermarkets. And from there, spoiler alert, Argentina basically became the cheapest country that we visited in terms of day-to-day living as a result of these as a result of this dollar azul, these pesos, which was awesome. The great thing about Buenos Aires, there's many great things about Buenos Aires. First of all, it's an incredible city. It's architecturally fantastic. Apparently, all of the big boulevards, all of those sorts of things were based on Paris. So if you've been fortunate enough to have been to both cities, Paris and Buenos Aires, you'll probably find similarities there as well. The great thing about Buenos Aires, though, that made it so special for us was the hostel. Now, if you listen to this and you've been to a hostel before, or you've been on a holiday and you've stayed in a great hotel, you'll know sometimes, even if the place wasn't great that you visited, that if the hotel or wherever that you stayed, if your accommodation was good and you met some great people, that normally means that you probably enjoyed the rest of your trip. Hopefully that makes sense. It was no different here. We were staying at the Limon hostel in the south of Buenos Aires. The people there were absolutely incredible. We ended up staying there for a week. We hadn't planned on doing so, but we ended up staying there for a week. There was an Australian couple called Mark and Jess. Spoiler alert again, we'll meet them in a few more places down the line. And they were barbecuing, they were on a world tour, but they were doing a lot of barbecuing each evening because, again, everything was relatively inexpensive in Argentina at the time, and pretty much everyone in the hostel had taken advantage of dollar azul. So they were barbecuing. There was a few Chileans there as well who, again, enjoyed their wine, enjoyed their meat, enjoyed their barbecuing. There was a massive outdoor patio area. And there's a few Argentines there as well. They were travelling in their own country and mixed with a few other people. But there's about 10 or 12 of us that really bonded over the week, which was absolutely fantastic. So rather than going out each evening, hitting the bars, clubs, etc., we found that a lot of time was actually spent in the hostel because the ambiance, shall we say, was incredibly brilliant. Just sitting down with wine, food, having a laugh, no one getting ridiculously stupid or too drunk or anything like that. There was good vibes, basically, throughout the whole state. And that's what made Buenos Aires very good as well. But after getting all the dollar azul, we knew that we're in the south of Buenos Aires, staying in the San Telmo district, which is famous for, Argentina's famous for the tango, but this particular area is very famous for tango as well, and I'm not talking about the drink. And we were quite near to La Boca. Now, La Boca is a very colourful neighbourhood. As with most places in Buenos Aires, it's not the sort of place you want to be travelling around at night. But it's also host to La Bombanera, or Boca Juniors football club. La Bombanera being the stadium that they play at. Incredibly intimidating stadium, to say the least. And rather than watch a game there, we thought about trying to find a game in Buenos Aires, but more on that in the next episode. But we thought at least a stadium tour of Boca Juniors would be fantastic. Now, Argentinians are very renowned. They love their football. Most South Americans do, to be fair, but Argentinians especially. Buenos Aires is, the city itself and the state is a hotbed of football activity. There are so many different famous clubs. I'm not going to rattle them all off here, but put it this way. Everyone's a bit football mad, everyone's a bit football crazy, which is great. The Bombanera Stadium itself, again in La Boca district, we went on a stadium tour. That was about $10, something along those lines, and it was brilliant. Fair play to the guide, done it in Spanish and English. The club museum was also fantastic. A very successful team at Boca Juniors. There's a lot of trophies, a lot of things to look at, a lot of cool things to understand about the club as well. And we were going around the stadium, and we were on the stadium tour, and a couple of things that sort of got us were, number one, how much influence these ultras have. Now, I wasn't around for football hooliganism in the 70s and 80s, the hardcore fans in the UK, bits and pieces like that. I'm not condoning what they've done, blah, blah, blah. But these ultras seem to have a different, influence in different countries. The tour guide is pretty much saying that these ultras pretty much run the club one way or another. You want tickets, speak to the ultras. You want to chat with this, speak to the ultras. You want to do this, deal with the ultras. That concept's crazy, in our opinion. But the stadium was great. We'd met up with a German guy who'd gone round with us, and we sat there near the end. And wherever I go, whenever I say I support Reading, because I like to test people's football knowledge, I always get laughed at, or someone says, "Ooh," and it was no different here. We all sat down at the end, and the guy was explaining how Boca Juniors got their colours, which is actually quite an interesting story. So Boca Juniors, if you don't know, they play in blue and yellow. They play in blue and yellow. The La Boca area of Buenos Aires is quite close to the Rio de la Plata, the River Plate itself. And there was a debate back in the day of what colours should this new team play at, what colours should this new team play in. In effect, what they decided to do was they would go down to the port, they would wait, and the first ship that came in that had the country's colours on, they would pick those colours for their football club. So the guys, girls, whomever, they were down at the docks, not a lot going on, bit of a quiet day. All of a sudden, they see the ship on the horizon. The ship comes up closer, bit foggy, so not able to see the flag just yet. The ship pulls into the docks. Lo and behold, it's from Sweden. Now, if you're au fait with your flags, you'll know that the Swedish flag is yellow and blue. Voila, Boca Juniors play in yellow and blue. So they are taking after the flag of Sweden. So congratulations, Sweden, you gave Boca Juniors their colours. Also at the end, the guy was testing our football knowledge, and he basically said, okay, so La Bombanera, but what does La Bombanera mean, in English? Me being me, hand up straight away, said, means a chocolate box. Guy looked stunned. He said, hardly anyone knows that, so how do you know that? I said, I like my football, I like my football knowledge, I just know it. It's called the chocolate box. And then he went round and was like, who does everyone support? And there was people there, a couple of people there. Bayern Munich, I think the guy we were with, I think was Dortmund, if I'm not mistaken. Someone there with Bayern Munich, a couple of people from Milan, AC Milan. Aaron says Liverpool, going around, guy took one look at me, and I said, Reading, nothing. Absolutely nothing. He just started laughing, I think. He said, what division? I said, well, just below the Premier League, so Division 1. And he said, never heard of them. But he said, I guess someone's got to support them. The whole group was laughing. I laughed as well, but wherever I go, I kid you not, either no one's heard of Reading or, they just don't care. Fun times. Anyway, football stadium done. The La Boca area is a fantastic area. Anyway, it's so colourful. Pretty much every building is a different colour. Just what you'd expect from a maritime place anyway, in all honesty. From there, we went for the first of many fantastic steaks. Now, again, bear in mind, we're on blue dollar here, so everything, going back to it, rather than getting 13 pesos to a pound because of double exchanging, we were effectively getting 22 pesos to a pound, which was great. So we went to this recommended steakhouse, sat down, we all ordered a butterfly steak. It was so tender you can cut it with a spoon, and it was only £9, maybe £10. Absolutely delightful. The steak was as big as your face. Absolutely gorgeous. Had the meat sweats as well. Nice bottle of red to go down with that. It was absolutely delightful. And talking of meat, we also then, a couple of days later, went out with Mark and Jess, the Australians that we met at the hostel. We went out to I think it's called a paradilla. Not a radizio is a Brazilian. It might be called a paradilla or paradisha. Basically, it's a meat house. You go sit down. You then go up to the grill. You order your meat. Your meat's cooked in front of you. Put it on your plate. Go back. Maybe via the salad cart. Job done. You can do that as many times as you want. Now we followed up on a recommendation. We'd gone down to the harbour area or the river area, and we saw this offer. And it was for, again, I think it's about 200 pesos, I think it was. So again, using the dollar rate, less than 10 quid. And it was, all you can eat meat, fantastic, salad bar, yeah, fine, dessert, fine, and 1.75 litres of red wine. And we thought, that's great, that's cracking value, superb, we're all hungry, let's go and eat. So we've gone in, sat down, and having a chat with Jess, and she said, look guys, I think this is 1.75 litres for the table. I'm looking at it going, I think it's 1.75 litres per person, I really do. Anyway, we'd all got a first plate of food. Waitress had come across, and we queried it. And we said, hang on a minute, is it 1.75? Again, this is all in Spanish, bear that in mind. I said, is it 1.75 litres per person, per persona, or por una mesa? I was like, oh no, per persona, per person. Woo! Incredible stuff. Now, we didn't get wasted, there was no point. The wine was absolutely fantastic, as you would expect from Argentina. But my word, I thought we had meat sweats in Foz do Iguaçu when it took us ages to walk back. But coming back to the hostel, we all had meat sweats. We were completely full up. I think we all just got back into the hostel and just sat down and monged in front of the TV, I think, for the evening. It was pretty brutal, but fantastic value for money as well. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Other things that we've done, we met up with a couple of people that we met in Florianopolis as well. I ended up getting a lip ring done. I've always thought it would be cool to have one done, and ended up having one done at a local market with thanks to the people that we met up with, which was good fun because the size of the needle would have freaked most people out. The guy that done it was very quick, very competent with what he was doing, and this big fat needle just went straight through my lip, and next thing you know, walking out with a little bit of I'm going to call it antiseptic, or to heal your lip as well, and a bit of a sore lip, and it's about £2 to get it done. So that was happy days too. Other exciting things, we just went for really long walks. As mentioned before on these travel episodes, going for really long walks is probably the best way to have a look round, without a shadow of a doubt. We ended up going to, I think it was a Recollector, which is a very famous, not graveyard as such, because I don't really do graveyards. Mausoleum is probably the best word. Really, really, really famous mausoleum there in Buenos Aires. And we just took a lot of really, really long walks, to be honest with you. There were some interesting times. We also went clubbing one evening with Ewan, who we'd spent some time with in Paraguay, and we'd gone clubbing a couple of evenings, which was fantastic. Getting back at about 8 o'clock in the morning was good fun, which for us, the English people, UK people, that's not the sort of thing we'd be used to. Culturally, in Latin America and Spain and other places, bits and bobs as well, you're normally not eating until very late. You're normally not going out drinking until very late. The party's only getting started, really about 11, 12 o'clock at night. Whereas in the UK, it's completely different. Normally we're, might be out till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning if we're lucky, or you might be curled up in bed, or you might be hanging already, or in case of Paraguay, you might be stealing people's cake. So we've gone out clubbing for a few times, and that was good. So again, we were with Ewan, and he'd met a couple of girls, and it's a bit of a, not womanizer, that's not the pleasant way of putting it, but he was a good catch with the ladies. So we'd gone out, and we're all of us having fun, and spent plenty of time out and about. The other good thing, apart from visiting the San Telmo market on the Sunday, I think it was, massive market takes over the whole town. We were walking up and down and looking at all these artisan bits and pieces, and that was on the recommended things to do list, and that was 100% absolutely fantastic. If you're ever around there, I'd recommend checking out the San Telmo market for sure. We did manage to sneak a game of football in as well. Bit stupid to go to Buenos Aires for a week and not try and see a game of football. Plenty of clubs to choose from, but we decided to go and see a team called Vélez Sarsfield. They were playing a team called Lanús, who are from, I think, Buenos Aires state, if I'm not mistaken. And their stadium was, the Vélez Sarsfield stadium was in the complete opposite part of Buenos Aires. This was like traversing London, going from extreme east to extreme west. It took a very long time and a couple of very, very long bus journeys. Now, we tried not to overplan this. Again, being Argentinian football, being English, we were a bit concerned. So again, we said, look, if anyone asks us, we're from Scotland, just so it saves you just don't know who's going to react in what way and all that sort of stuff. We were trying to take a common sense approach. The stadium itself, complete opposite end of town. We knew roughly how to get there. We took a metro train somewhere and then got on a bus, and we just kept going until we saw the stadium and then we got off the bus. The game itself was all right. I think Vélez won 1-0 with quite a late goal, if memory serves correctly. It was a good experience. It wasn't a busy stadium. Vélez Sarsfield aren't, a ridiculously well supported club anyway. But it was a good game, and it was a good experience nonetheless. What was also good fun was trying to get back. So we tried not to overplan getting back at all. We just said, look, we know where we've got to go. You just got to keep going east. The minute you hit the Rio de la Plata, you know you're at the river. We'll figure it out. Not an issue at all. I remember the journey back was quite entertaining. We got on a couple of buses. It was pitch black. We didn't really know where we were going. We kind of had an idea. But again, go back to one of the golden rules of travelling. Always look like you know where you're going. And because we looked like we knew where we were going, it turned out to be absolutely fine. Took us a few hours to get back. I think we ended up in the north part of town at the end, and we just took a big, massive walk down the Avenida 9 de Julio, the 9th of July Avenue, which is actually apparently one of the widest roads in the world. It can have a great game of Frogger there if you really wanted to. Go check it out on Google. It is ridiculously wide, that road. And we got back to the hostel okay, and no issues there. But it was good fun to, again, little things like that, just go with the flow. Kind of know that you got to get back, kind of know where you're going. But again, going back to golden rule of travelling, always look like you know where you're going, even if you don't. Always look like you know where you're going. Don't be one of those people that's always stopping, looking at your phone, getting a big map out. You just create yourself, you make yourself a target unnecessarily. Always look like you know where you're going. And we've done a decent job of that. And that was about it for Buenos Aires. The only other thing of note was the Reserva Ecológica, the ecological reserve. I was trying to think of the translation there. The ecological reserve, the ecological park, which was again partly in the Rio de la Plata. It's a fantastic walk. It takes a couple of hours if you're really taking your time. If you're a bit of a twitcher like Aaron, you're looking out for all the birds. Definitely recommend walking around there. It's absolutely superb. We ended up with after having a walk around there, we ended up getting a bocadillo, a sandwich from the local sandwich cart that was in the park. And again, dollar result. Turned out it was about £2, £2.50. Steak sandwich. My word, that filled us up for the day. Incredible sandwich. I'd go back there to have one of those sandwiches. And got to give a bit of a hats off to a pub called the Gibraltar, which was around the corner from the hostel. So whenever people got a bit bored, you'd end up just going around having a few pints of Quilmes, fantastic lager, beer, whatever you want to call it. And again, interesting, we'd normally be at the pub. Some of us are at a pub during the day, but sometimes you're at the pub 7, 8, 9 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock, and everyone's getting, a bit merry. In Argentina, I kid you not, this pub didn't even open till 10, half 10 at night. A couple of nights we ended up staying there till I don't know what time o'clock in the morning, but it was one of those where it was light on the way out. So always a good evening, relatively inexpensive as well. So yeah, hats off to the Gibraltar there for hosting us on many an occasion. And that was Buenos Aires. We knew from there we had to, or we wanted to, head down to the tip of the north tip of around the Patagonia region. We'd heard about a couple of peninsulas down there we wanted to go to. We had no intention of going all the way down to the bottom, so like the Tierra del Fuego, Ushuaia and Falkland, that sort of stuff. We had no inclination of going down there. We had no winter clothes. It didn't interest us at the time. So we had to figure out how to possibly get down to a place called Puerto Madryn, and that is where we're going to pick up the story next week in a wonderful part of Wales in Argentina. Hasta luego.